Chapter 303. Target, Deep Sea Demon Whale King, TL by Bagelson. Jen Ringshu's expression was so heavy you could wring water from it. She had never thought chasing Tang San would be this difficult. If last time in Stardo Great Forest, she could be said not to have used her full strength, then this time she had fully displayed her god-level strength, even using the angelic raiment's abilities, but still couldn't kill Tang San. However, Jen Ringshu also clearly sensed that after the sea god trident blocked her, its soul had disappeared. That the sea god's intent could briefly show the sea god's full strength definitely didn't come without cost. Under such circumstances, he definitely couldn't take one more of her attacks. But seeing this boundless ocean, Jen Ringshu felt a pang of powerlessness. The power of gods also had limits. Just like Tang San said, the meaning of gods on the Douluo Continent meant humans with a certain level of strength, or rather the strongest human spirit masters who broke through rank 100 to reach another realm. Jen Ringshu wasn't in her own domain, and even her god-level strength wasn't omnipotent. At least, her divine senses would be enormously handicapped in the ocean. The deeper the sea, the greater the hindrance, far from as free as in the air. She was well aware that with Tang San's abilities that received even the sea god's attention, finding him again was as difficult as climbing to heaven. Drawing a deep breath and calming her herd, recalling the previous underground battle, Jen Ringshu couldn't help sighing inwardly. What that divine intent sea god said was right. Even though she had become the god of angels, she still hadn't cultivated step by step to the god level. There were a lot of processes that her grandfather had helped simplify. She completely comprehended the spirit of the god of angels, but she hadn't fully grasped its full strength. Otherwise, how would there be so many delays and pauses when using the abilities, giving Tang San chances to take advantage of? Gazing into the boundless ocean, Jen Ringshu's heart gradually calmed. She was like Tang San, also a genius to define her era. Only these days her attitude had been influenced by all the escape techniques Tang San used. Seeing that she no longer had a chance to chase him, she on the contrary calmed down. She clearly understood that if she couldn't erase the feelings of failure from being unable to catch Tang San, her cultivation might be influenced. Gradually calming down, the divine intent belonging to the god of angels slowly circled around her. Bathed in sunshine, the angelic raiment glittered with dazzling light. Tang San, since you've stepped onto the road to the sea god's inheritance, then with your intelligence and wisdom, you can definitely become the sea god. Before and until now, I chased you to destroy you. It was to erase the insurmountable shock left in my heart, but now I won't. I'll just wait for you here. So what if it's once you become sea god? Once you've become a god, let us properly compete and see if your sea god is amazing, or if my god of angels is even stronger. Tang San, I'm waiting for you here. Golden ripples poured into the seawater along with Chen Ringshu's voice. Even though she couldn't rely on her divine intent to reach through Tang San's vast sea barrier, by now issuing her voice and relying on her formidable divine senses to send her voice into the ocean, then as long as Tang San was within 1,000 li range, he would certainly hear her. Having said her piece, Chen Ringshu sat down cross-legged in the sand, her eyes no longer emotional, anxious, or any other expression. Everything turned calm, just like when she saw Tang San after just becoming a god, and moreover even calmer than then. Not only her heart was calm, but even her soul, taking the initiative to give up on chasing Tang San, and using her words to tell herself she would face Tang San as a god, allowed her to erase the feelings of failure she held. At the same time it also drew on the faith of never admitting defeat to finally raise her way of thinking from a human spirit master to that of a god. Angelic divine power connected in a flash of insight, without any more delays. It might be said that if Tang San had faced Chen Ringshu in this condition, he basically wouldn't have stood a chance of escaping. Chen Ringshu could also be said to have truly stepped into the realm of gods with Tang San's help, thoroughly becoming the god of angels. That she decided to wait here for Tang San instead of returning to the Spirit Empire's battlefield, that she was able to discard the outcome of the battle, amply displayed her current level. Here she would calm down, mastering everything granted to her after becoming god, truly displaying the might of gods. In the ocean, the swiftly moving devil spirit great white sharks suddenly slowed, even though the seawater only rippled slightly in that undulation. At this moment, all creatures of the sea within 1,000 li blanked out briefly, a clear voice reaching their minds. This voice was naturally also heard by the Shrek 7 devils within the vast sea barrier. Besides Tang San, the other 6 couldn't help simultaneously changing expression, shocked looking at Tang San, their eyes filled with disbelief. In fact, even the weakest among them, Xiao Wu, still had spirit sage level strength, as well as extensive experience from cultivating as a spirit beast for 100,000 years, but they had never thought someone could spread their voice through seawater, and that instant shock also made their souls tremble. At this moment, they finally understood why Tang San was so disheveled, and moreover quickly submerged them into the sea as if anxious. What kind of existence was the owner of this voice? Right now, with the devil spirit great white sharks moving at full speed, even though it hadn't been long, the Shrek 7 devils were already several dozen li from the shore, relying on the protection of the vast sea barrier, plus the cover of seawater. Tang San could be certain that even if Chen Ringshu was omniscient, it would still be impossible to find them. His mind now finally relaxed a bit. However, as he saw the cavity on the sea god trident missing the sea god's heart, he couldn't help frowning. Ma Hongzhen wanted to ask about it, but was stopped by a glance from Dai Mubai. Ma Hongzhen immediately came to himself. None of them had to ask Tang San. As brothers for so many years, they of course knew that if Tang San wanted to speak, he definitely would. Worrying was useless. Xiao Wu sat next to Tang San, observing the closest. She clearly saw that Tang San's right hand gripping the sea god trident had turned pale, the joints clearly visible, clearly caused by overexertion. This voice had clearly provoked him. Xiao Wu silently wrapped Tang San's big hand in her small ones. Feeling the warmth from Xiao Wu's palms, Tang San turned his head to look at her, sighing. In the last few days, not only did I feel like I wouldn't see you again, even today, if not for a miracle, you might not even have found my corpse. Tang San finally spoke, and everyone couldn't help asking questions. Dai Mubai frowned. Was it the owner of that voice? How did she do it? How can her voice pass through the sea? Don't tell me she's even stronger than BB Dong. But BB Dong is already ranked 98 or 99. If someone was even stronger than her, it would at most be in terms of spirit. There can't be a triple spirit enemy. Even if there was, with your current strength plus the sea god trident, it wouldn't be so bad as to force you to run like this. Tang San gave a wry laugh. He knew that his comrades wouldn't think in that direction, even though he could guess Chen Ringshu's strength. He also hadn't thought Chen Ringshu would be at such a level. You all know that person. Last time in Heaven City, she almost gained control over the imperial family as well as the entire empire. Her father was the previous supreme pontiff who died from wounds caused by my father. Her grandfather is the current spirit hall high priest, Peak Douluo Dalu. Oscar said. You're talking about Chen Ringshu. How could she chase you like that? Was she together with her grandfather? They could still understand if Chen Dalu had chased Tang San. Tang San silently shook his head. If it was Chen Dalu, I would at least have 30% certainty of defending myself, with 70% chance of being able to smoothly escape. But against Chen Ringshu, I don't have 10% chance. This time it was all due to relying on effort, courage as well as abilities, and even more luck, that I could see you all again. Because Chen Ringshu is no longer human. Ma Hongzhen subconsciously said, not human. Then what? Don't tell me she's a 100,000-year spirit beast too. Ma Hongzhen reacted slow, but that didn't mean the others did. Understanding most clearly, Oscar's mouth opened wide. Ning Rongrong covered her mouth, keeping herself from crying out. Xiao Wu, who originally just softly held Tang San's hand, tightened her grip at the same time as her eyes filled with shock, as if afraid she would lose Tang San immediately. Dai Mubai had the steadiest heart, but he still couldn't help exhaling. You mean? Tang San nodded. Yes, she's already become a god, the six-winged god of angels. If I'm not mistaken, this inheritance should always have been with Spirit Hall's Elder Palace, or the priests or Douluo Palace or similar. Chen Ringshu should have inherited the god of angels with Chen Dalu's help. We've always worked hard these years, but Spirit Hall hasn't been idle either. It's truly worthy of an organization able to control the Spirit Master world for so long. They actually really bred a god-level power. Ma Hongzhen gaped wide, dumbly saying, Isn't that impossible? In so few years. How could that Chen Ringshu? Oscar had a wry expression. Nothing's impossible. Just look at Little San. Little San could rise from rank 60 to rank 90-something in just a few years. Spirit Hall's resources are much deeper than ours. How could they not produce a god-level power? Only, it would be nice if their god-level power could appear a few months later. Ning Rongrong said, Third brother, how was your fight with Chen Ringshu? You. Tang San laughed out loud. You want to ask how I could escape alive from a god's pursuit? Frankly, this time luck accounts for at least half of it. My strength the rest. The reason I say luck is half is mainly because when I ran into Chen Rinchu, she should have just finished the inheritance and obtained the position of god. Her grasp of god-level strength couldn't have been complete. Plus, she might have a trauma towards me because of the fight back in Heaven Do City, and I persuaded her not to use her full strength, which I exploited to successfully escape Stardo Great Forest. The other time was luck. If the sea god hadn't helped me, I wouldn't have seen you again. God-level power really is beyond the range of human comprehension. Did you know Chen Rinchu actually used the power of the sun to attack me? Simply put, it can practically give her infinite strength. I thought I built a situation rather advantageous to me, but I still risked dying. Even surviving was at the price of the sea god's heart. Hearing the word god, everyone grew a bit absent-minded. After all, even though they had obtained the sea god's approval due to Tang San, and moreover received the sea god's trials, so they had some understanding of gods, they had after all never really seen a god, nor could they imagine the level of power gods reached. But they clearly understood Tang San's strength. Since returning from Sea God Island, Tang San relied on his formidable might to break powerful enemies time and time again, whether gaining the Clear Sky School's approval or reversing the tides of war, as well as ruining the Spirit Empire Empress plan several times. He could be said to have perfectly displayed his genius strength. Even on a battlefield of millions of heroes, he could become a formidable power to close the two sides. One might say that, if not for Tang San, the Heaven Do Empire couldn't possibly have attained such brilliant victories. But after Tang San now spoke of god-level Chen Rinchu, the expression on his face was even more helpless and lucky. This showed what kind of danger he had run into. The appearance of a god-level power was undoubtedly a blow to everyone's plans. The inside of the vast sea barrier was so quiet a falling pin could have been heard. Tang San watched his comrades' expressions change. He understood that, just like when he just met Chen Rinchu, everyone's confidence had suffered a blow. Moreover, the appearance of a god-level power also made them feel restless. Tang San didn't try to persuade the others. He spoke up calmly. Starting from when I left for the Stardo Great Forest, I began to raise spirit rings for the Clear Sky Hammer. Tang San narrated all that he had been through, in meticulous detail, without leaving anything out. Even the battles with spirit beasts, and especially that dark devil god tiger's fight, were all covered without omissions. He even described his cultivation experiences as well as the feeling of the great Samaro hammer and comboing spirit abilities were described without holding back. Starting from killing the first spirit beast, gradually, he talked about how he almost berserk simultaneously absorbed the 315-ton emperors. After I fully absorbed them, giving the Clear Sky Hammer 8 spirit rings, I didn't even have time to sense or check the effects of my spirit rings before I met Chen Rinchu. On just that instant, I sensed something wrong, because, even with my spirit power already at rank 95 and my mental strength once again advanced, I basically never sensed her presence. Even the connection between my blue silver emperor and the blue silver grass couldn't tell me how she arrived. At that moment, even though I didn't want to believe it, in my heart I already understood. After finishing his account of killing spirit beasts, he came to the key part. Along with Tang San's narration, his comrades' minds were all drawn in by his words, their gazes fixed on him, especially after he was nearly outwitted by the dark devil god tiger. Everyone couldn't help being shocked. When they heard Tang San absorb 3 15-ton ant emperors at the same time, they again felt their blood boiling. Their previous disappointment and worry was now gradually diluted by Tang San's story. Tang San talked about his 3 battles with Chen Rinchu in even more detail, not only describing the process of the fight, but at the same time also his mental state, as well as his conjectures of Chen Rinchu's mental state and how he acted. It was true that Tang San and Chen Rinchu's battle could be described as very dangerous, but his wisdom still had a very important effect. Through his clever use of words, even though Tang San's account didn't differ from the factual situation, it still made everyone feel like absolute strength wasn't everything, and that intelligence was equally important. Facing such a god-level power, Tang San ultimately still escaped, standing in front of them. If could have god-level strength as well, I'm 100% certain I could defeat Chen Rinchu. True, my spirit power hasn't increased slower than hers in any way, and I'm even a bit faster than her, but my circumstances are different from hers. If I'm not mistaken, she has also faced a god's test like the Sea God 9 trials. However, the person who guided her should have been her grandfather Chen Dalu. Chen Rinchu definitely wouldn't act towards Chen Rinchu like Sea God Douluo did to us. He's bound to have helped her, assisting her in passing the crucial difficulties. But we have always relied on our own strength to succeed. At the same time, when Chen Rinchu's strength rose, Chen Dalu might also have had an extremely important effect. Therefore, her process to ascend to the god level wasn't solid. Even though she became god, she absolutely isn't a perfect god. Otherwise, her heart wouldn't have had such weaknesses for me to catch. Of course, Chen Dalu should have thought of this while raising her, but he also knew that there were no gods in this world. As long as his granddaughter cultivated to the god level, even if she wasn't the strongest god, she would still be undefeatable. That's why he matured her the fastest way possible. And Chen Rinchu didn't disappoint her, finally breaking through the last distance. At this point, Tang San paused, his gaze sweeping across his companions' faces. Right now, he suddenly exuded an incomparable confidence. Even the devil spirit great white sharks outside the vast sea barrier clearly felt it. However, we're different. Mobai, Little Owl, Fatty, Rongrong, Sulking, Xiaowu. All 7 of us have experienced the sea god's trials together. We've relied on our own strength to, bit by bit, reach this depth through repeatedly facing the risk of death. True, my spirit power has increased very quickly, but you should understand that my growth speed is closely related to my spirits. Maybe any one of my Clear Sky Hammer and Blue Silver Emperor should be slightly inferior in quality to the Seraphim spirit, but I'm also a twin spirit holder. In this respect, even BB Dong can't compare to me, even though she also has twin spirits. Her twin spirits are the same type of creatures, both based on spiders, but not my 2 spirits are poles apart. It's the simultaneous expression of my parents' genes, and since I can raise them to the peak, that proves I've already surpassed BB Dong, and that my foundation is forged even stronger than Chen Rinchu's. Therefore, as long as I can become the sea god, even if Chen Rinchu can fully master all the abilities of the Seraphim god, I'm still absolutely confident in defeating her. Listening to Tang San's impassioned voice, feeling his unprecedented charisma and incomparable aggressiveness, everyone seemed to see the combined shape of the intelligent grandmaster and domineering Tang Hao. In fact, as Tang San's teacher and father, they had passed on everything to the current Tang San. We trust you, little San. Daimabai clenched his fist hard. You're right, no matter how many god-level powers there are, we still have an equal chance to become god-level powers. As long as you become the sea god, then what does it matter how amazing the god of angels is? Besides, even if she's strong, she's still just one person. But you're different. You have us too. We'll always be by your side, blocking the enemy together. Our plan doesn't change. The sea god island is still our only goal. Tang San nodded firmly, at the same time shifting the sea god trident to his other hand and holding out his right hand to his comrades. 7 hands overlapped, 14 eyes meeting in a feeling of harmony. Because the influence of Chen Rinchu becoming god ended at this moment, all the barriers in each person's heart was already gone. This included Tang San himself. Just like Chen Rinchu was filled with confidence from her willpower on the shore, the questions within their hearts was already completely resolved. Of course, whether regarding Tang San or Chen Rinchu, if they wanted to truly deal with the questions they had all had to face the enemy, had to defeat the enemy. Tang San appeased his comrades, then said, "We still can't head straight to Sea God Island. Before going there we have to make a detour. My Clear Sky Hammer still lacks one last spirit ring, and that position was already set aside for it before we left Sea God Island." Oscar grinned. That repulsive creature almost destroyed us all back then, even becoming that purple pearl woman's captives. This time we have to settle accounts. We're not the Shrek 7 devils we were then. Everyone of course knew what target Tang San spoke of. The demon lord of the deep sea, the strongest sea spirit beast, the deep sea demon whale king. Now Xiaowu frowned, and Tang San quickly held her hand tightly. "Xiaowu, are you feeling unwell? If you don't want me to kill 100,000-year spirit beast, I can." Xiaowu knew Tang San had misunderstood and quickly shook her head. "No, I won't stop you. It's just that this deep sea demon whale king makes me feel really restless. When you faced it back then, you and me fought it together, but it gave me a very different feeling from 100,000-year spirit beast. You used invincible golden body to approach it and absorb a bit of its energy, thereby raising your spirit power again. But before my soul grew unconscious together with you, I still felt 2 unimaginable things." "Oh, what?" Tang San's heart twitched, hurriedly asking. Xiaowu said, First is naturally its strength. That deep sea demon whale king is too strong. I've never seen anything with such an enormous body as well as enormous energy. I can be sure that even dominion and Ming's energy added together would be far from enough to compare. The energy it saved is as vast and immeasurable as the sea. I basically couldn't sense an end. Second is the feeling when it hit you in invincible golden body. You also know that invincible golden body originally was my ability, and we've always treated it as an unparalleled 3-second defense. But in fact, it also has limits. When you fought the deep sea demon whale king, you went all out and was naturally too busy to mind other things. But I was restricted from leaving your body, and my soul clearly felt the state of invincible golden body. Did you know, at that moment, the invincible golden body you used was on the verge of collapse? At the time the deep sea demon whale king's attack definitely wasn't made with its full strength, but more like a casual slap. Just a casual strike could nearly break the invincible golden body's defense. This shows just how powerful its attacks are. It was definitely careless then. It basically didn't expect you to have such an ability, so you broke its attack and got in close, then using the 8 spider lances to drain a bit of its energy. But even so, under those circumstances there was no chance of you surviving. Judging by the circumstances of your battle with Chen Rinchu, the reason you could survive back then is very possibly because the sea god's divine intent intervened. Otherwise you would definitely have died. Therefore, what I'm saying is to absolutely not underestimate the deep sea demon whale king. It absolutely isn't as simple as an ordinary 100,000-year spirit beast. Its cultivation has very possible already broken through the category of 100,000-year spirit beasts. The tyrant of this ocean isn't as easy to handle as we imagine. Even if we go hunting for it, we still have to make surefire preparations. Nobody objected after listening to Xiao Wu, because they knew that, as a 100,000-year spirit beast, Xiao Wu was definitely the one with the best understanding of 100,000-year spirit beasts. If even she couldn't see the deep sea demon whale king's strength, it was obvious how powerful this demon beast was. Tang San nodded. Xiao Wu, your warning is quite timely. Otherwise, if we rushed off, we'd very possibly end up losing out. Only, the deep sea demon whale king has to die. Killing it is part of my 8th sea god trial. Only eliminating it will be considered clearing the trial, giving the possibility to leave for Sea God Island to inherit the sea god. When the time comes, I'll use my own strength. Everyone else keep some distance. If there's a problem, you all support me. The deep sea demon whale king has the power to control the ocean, but my sea god's light should be able to restrain it to an extent. Even if Chen Rinchu becoming god puts pressure on us, the more that's the case, the less impatient we can afford to be. Or it'll have the opposite effect. Safety is paramount. Xiao Wu couldn't help smiling as she listened to Tang San. She knew Tang San understood what she was thinking, being able to keep calm even now. Clearly, he had progressed in all areas once again, and not in a panic due to Chen Rinchu's power. Let's approach the deep sea demon whale king first. It only has one eye, so as long as we don't get close and enter its domain, we won't draw any attention. Before we came here, we already had Xiao Bao's clansmen call her. We can start once she arrives. She understands the deep sea demon whale king better than us, and with her help we'll be even more assured in dealing with the deep sea demon whale king. Tang San exulted, and couldn't help kissing Xiao Wu hard on the forehead. Xiao Wu, you really are my good wife. With Xiao Bai's help, our hopes of facing the deep sea demon whale king increases greatly. At least we can leave an escape route. Xiao Wu's charming face flushed, not daring to look at their leering companions. She took the initiative to hide in Tang San's arms, muttering in a low voice, I still haven't married you. Tang San laughed out loud, scratching his head. It's a matter of time. You can't run. Ning Rongrong burst into giggles. Third brother, I always took little hours very unromantic, but compared to you he's actually much better. You want to have Xiao Wu marry you with just a sentence. You haven't even proposed. Really unromantic. Tang San looked awkwardly at Xiao Wu in his arms, then back at Ning Rongrong with a wry smile. My fault. Once we've done what must be done, I'll definitely formally ask Xiao Wu to marry me. Oscar said somewhat complacently. Little San, even though you're stronger than me, your sweet talking is hopeless. Later on Big Bro will teach you a couple of techniques that are guaranteed to give you endless pleasure. Ning Rongrong shot him an unhappy glare. Wow, so what you said to me was all sweet talking. How two-faced. Rongrong, my sweet talking to you all comes from my heart. Heh. I suddenly feel like Little San's method is also pretty good. Quite direct. In any case, you only have me for the rest of your life. Whoever teases you, I'll beat him until his mother doesn't recognize him. You. Ning Rongrong looked at Oscar with a helpless expression. He was hopeless. Fine, don't be noisy. We're still too close to the shore. Just in case Chen Rinchu's divine senses tracks us, we'll be in trouble. Daimobai said, his face looking a bit unsightly, his brows tightly wrinkled. Tang San looked at Daimobai. Boss Dai, I know what you're worried about, but what you fear shouldn't become reality, at least not in the short term. Why? Daimobai looked skeptically at Tang San. Tang San said, you're definitely thinking that if a pal like Chen Rinchu joins the fray, wouldn't she sweep everything before her? And both the Heaven Do Empire army or your Douluo Empire's army doesn't have the strength to stop her, risking the nations being extinguished at any moment, right? Daimobai nodded. The others might not care about battles between nations, but he was after all the Douluo Empire crown prince. How could he not care? He absolutely didn't want to see the Douluo Empire extinguished before the Spirit Empire. Now that he saw Tang San looking like he was already prepared, his worries weakened a bit.